Hey guys, my name is Joanna, also known as JustAnotherFlutist here on YouTube, and today we are doing yet another Flute Center of New York sponsored review. I have teamed up with the Flute Center of New York to give you guys monthly flute review videos. And this month we'll be looking at the Pearl Dolce series $6.95 and the Pearl Elegante series the $7.95 Vigore. I hope I said that right. If you guys are already familiar with this part of the video, just skip on over to when the review actually starts. For those of you who are new around here, I want to let you guys know about a couple of perks that you guys can get when you order a flute through the Flute Center of New York using my code JAF. Number one, you get free domestic shipping within the US. The Flute Center of New York will charge the shipping costs up front, but it will be refunded back to you once you return the flutes that are out on trial. Number two, you get an extended 10-day trial. Usually it's only 7 days. Number three, you get an extended 18-month warranty on your new flute. And number four, you can take up to 3 instruments out on trial at a time. If you do take flutes out on trial, just be sure that you're actually in the market to buy. Also, the Flute Center of New York price matches any other authorized dealer, so you always know you're getting the best bang for your buck. Now, if you want to take flutes out on trial, all you have to do is call or email the Flute Center of New York. I will put a link to their contact page in the info box below. Simply tell them which flutes you're thinking of trying, give them my code JAF, and they'll take care of things from there. Or if you want to buy a flute straight off of their website, you just need to put JAF as the discount code at the end when you check out. Now, when trying flutes, make sure you take off all rings and dangly jewelry that can potentially scratch the flute. Never use the polishing cloth, the swabbing gauze, or the cleaning rod that comes with each new flute because they are not yours yet. And finally, a quick disclaimer, every flutist plays each flute differently. Like in Harry Potter, just as the wand chooses the wizard, so the flute chooses the flutist. I'm just here to describe to the best of my ability how these flutes like to be played, but it's up to you to decide which flute matches you the best. And with all that said and done, let's jump into this review. Let's go over the specs of these flutes that we're looking at today. The Pearl Dolce series flute model PF695 features a .925 sterling silver Forza head joint. Forza is just the name of the cut of the head joint. It features a sharp drop off on the opposite edge of the lip hole. I think this helps with projection. I did try to look up the Forza head joint on the Pearl website. They say here that the Forza head joint is supplied for the Elegante and Dolce series. The Forza is an upgraded head joint producing unbelievable projection combined with a dazzling rich tone, which I am happy to report that it does, and I will explain how it works in this review. Moving on with the specs, the 695 also features a silver-plated body and mechanism, French open hole model, pointed key arms, inline or offset G, split E mechanism, which is standard on offset G models and not available for inline G flutes. This is just because you can't even put the mechanism on if it's an inline G, and B-foot joint. The Pearl Elegante series flute model PF795 Vigore features a .925 sterling silver Forza cut head joint with a 3-karat gold lip plate, sterling silver body with silver plated mechanism, French open hole model, pointed key arms, inline or offset G, split E mechanism, which again is standard on offset G models, not available on inline G flutes, C-sharp trill, which is standard on this flute, whoa, D-sharp roller, which is also standard on this flute, and B-foot joint. Right off the bat, I'm noticing that the 795 includes as standard a lot of features that normally you have to pay extra money for. For example, the split E mechanism is considered standard, the C-sharp trill is considered standard, and the D-sharp roller are considered standard. I think this is fantastic. To me, this means that Pearl is just saying, it makes your life easier. Why not make it standard? I mean, that's kind of how the offset G even came to being. It is more comfortable for people. It makes it easier to play for a lot of people. That's why offset G has now also become a standard. You've noticed that you don't have to pay extra for offset G, right? Pearl is very forward thinking. Both of these flutes actually come in identical packaging. So it comes in your typical French flute case and cover. The cover features a fleece lining and some piping on the inside. The shoulder strap is not detachable, but it is sewn straight into the case, and it's not just sewn on top like you can just detach it, it's actually sewn into the seams. But man, when I opened up the cover, I was not prepared for the beautiful wood case. So this wood case is more of a matte finish than a glossy finish. Just freaking gorgeous. On the inside, there's like green velvet lining. Slytherin in me is very happy about that. You also get a really beautiful dark wood cleaning rod. You get your typical cleaning gauze, microfiber polishing cloth, and you get a manual. I recognize this manual from the last Pearl review I did. It goes over the different parts of the flute, cleaning the flutes, taking care of the flute, and in multiple different languages. Now let's dive into playing around with the Pearl Dolce 695. So let's talk first impressions. Holy moly, huge projection in all registers. When I was cleaning this flute after trying it, I noticed that the thumb key has a really interesting design. I've never seen this design before. I think it's purely cosmetic. If someone from Pearl is watching this and would like to correct me, please put it in the comments below. I'm sure everyone would love to know. I think it looks cool. Also, a quick note about the gizmo. I noticed that there's not actually a huge crazy difference of playing the C7 with the gizmo. It does correct the pitch a bit, and it provides a tiny bit more of like an opened up sound, but the differences aren't huge at all. All right, so before I start talking, let's talk about what I have drawn here. We're looking at basically the cross section of your mouth. These are your lips, these are your teeth, this is the roof of your mouth, this is your tongue. We got that straight? All right, let's jump right in. The idea is that you imagine the shape of a ball, and that will pretty much determine how the inside of your mouth will be shaped. When I am playing low notes on this flute, I am imagining the ball somewhere around here. So it really feels like there's like a sphere there. I imagine my airstream coming up from my diaphragm up into my mouth and straight through the ball. You really feel like the air is rushing through it. For low notes, I imagine the ball quite low down here, and in fact you feel like you have to hollow out the area behind your bottom front teeth. This area right here. The ball just kind of sits really low down there. It kind of feels like you're a bullfrog. I mean, you're not pushing the ball all the way out beyond your bottom front teeth, but it is sitting quite up front and quite low. As you climb higher in the registers, this ball, normally I would think that it would just move upward or move diagonally backwards or just move backwards altogether. But for this flute, I find that you move in a backwards C formation. Your middle register, you'll feel that the sphere is somewhere around here, but your highest notes, you definitely feel like they're more around here. So in sort of the middle of the roof of your mouth. Very interesting. I've never felt this on any other flute before. This does mean that it makes higher notes quite a bit easier to play because you don't feel like you have to push the air from like back here. It is a lot more intuitive to push your air from way further forward in your mouth. Since you're not dealing with like linear movement, I think there's a lot more of a gray zone in here as to where your notes are supposed to lie in order to get the full resonance. So you're gonna have to do quite a bit of experimentation. I didn't particularly feel that it was very hard to do that. I kind of felt like the flute was teaching me how to play it. One more note about the highest notes when the ball is up here. The air pushes through the ball with a lot of force. This flute can take a lot and make it quite sweet sounding and project very far. Now let's play with harmonics. All you have to do is follow the suggestions that I just made about, you know, climbing through the registers in this C curve. As far as 7th harmonics go, there isn't a huge amount of resistance. I mean, there is quite a bit because it is so high. Compared to other 7th harmonics that I have tried on other flutes, this one is a breeze. Now let's talk about tone color. as you know how the flute likes to be played, all you have to do is play with the elements of what it takes to get the full resonance out from your flute. So in this case, for tone color, we're going to be playing with that sphere, that ball of air that we're imagining in our mouth. For a richer, darker tone, if your ball is normally this big, you want your ball to be like that big. This will effectively tuck your tongue away even more as well, which will help give a little bit more room inside of your mouth. You'll also feel more air pouring through that ball. So this does kind of mean that your rich tone will air on the louder side. For a thin, hollow tone, you want to change that ball of air into like a boba straw. So this will cause your mouth to collapse in a little bit, and it will cause you to make sort of a ooh syllable. As for your airstream, I feel like it passes through more of the top side of the straw rather than like filling up the entire thing. And now for dynamics. To play forte, you make that ball of air really big. If your ball of air was this big, make it huge. Pour that air through. Yes, this is pretty much the same exact thing that you do for a rich tone. You want to concentrate more on the fact that you are pouring more air through. The tone color, you want to concentrate more on the shape of the ball. To play piano, you make that ball very small. And again, your air is passing straight through that ball. All right, and now let's play with the mechanism. The keys on this flute are pretty resistant when you press them down, but they bounce up really quickly. So this would be really good for people who are more heavy-handed, who want that light bounciness, but need that little bit of resistance to just balance out their fingers. The trill keys feature that same resistance. Going down, there's quite a bit more resistance than I'm used to, but it pops right back up. Like the bounce is really nice. It's that bounce that really makes your trill sound really vibrant. The C trill keys are considerably higher than I'm used to. Usually I find that they're kind of like on the same level as the B flat lever. I do have some students who have trouble finding their trill keys. If you're like that and you have trouble finding the trill keys, you won't have trouble finding them on a pearl. I think this would be great for big hands. In the same vein, the gizmo key is also very, very high up. And lastly, the D sharp key seems massive to me. I personally found that when I was sliding between the C sharp and D sharp keys, there was a little bit of a bump when I'm sliding back onto the D sharp key because that key is so huge and my finger is so freaking small. If you have bigger fingers than me, I honestly don't think you'll have this issue, but if you have small hands and small fingers like me, you may find that there's like a little bit of a bump. Stay tuned for the 795 where I talk about the D sharp roller on that one, because it fixes this problem. And now for articulation. When I'm single tonguing, my tongue will come from down here and then it will go up around here. The tonguing on this flute is actually quite far back. A lot of other flutes tend to tongue around here or even here. And usually if you're tonguing all the way this far back on those flutes, you get a thumping sound, but here you don't. You get a really nice clean sound. Now for double tonguing, I find that I have to aim for the middle of my mouth. So my tongue will come back here in this kind of motion for the K. If I aimed even back here, it already swallowed up my sound. And now let's play around with the Pearl 795. Okay, as you can imagine, because this is basically like the older sibling of the 695, they're going to play very similarly. It's even the same head joint cut. The only thing here is we're working with a gold lip plate and a solid silver flute throughout. And as for playing notes on this flute, you still follow that C-shape curve. However, for the low notes, they don't sit quite as far down. The 695 sat all the way down here. I find that for the 795, my lowest notes were actually sitting right here. It's quite high up in the mouth, actually. Still very far forward. So because your ball of air is sitting quite far up, that C shape is much smaller on this flute because you're still moving like this and your highest notes are still sitting right there. Whereas on the 695, the C was like this big. So the gray zone area here on the 795 is actually smaller, which may account for the fact that it feels easier to play. Now about the airstream, it doesn't pass through the ball in exactly the same way as the 695 does. The 695 goes straight through the middle of the ball. I find that on the 795, it passes on the underside of the ball. So imagine that you are rolling the ball in this direction. You do this regardless of the register you're in. So that means that your airstream for your highest notes is going like this, which also makes this flute feel easier to play because this is more intuitive than it is to keep your airstream this high up in your mouth. And now let's talk about harmonics. As long as you follow these suggestions, you'll be good to go in the harmonics. The 7th harmonic also speaks very, very easily. It feels different though. In a way, it's easier to get out, but it doesn't project as much as on the 695. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the fact that it is a 3-carat gold lip plate. Gold is mellow and will make your sound a little mellower. And now for tone color. Same idea as on the 695. For your rich dark tones, you make that ball bigger and you concentrate on that ball being bigger. But again, you are passing the air on the bottom part of the ball. For your thin hollow sound, you again have that boba straw. But here, you know how before we were saying that the air passes through the top half of it? Well, in this case, on the 795, I feel that it passes on the underside of the straw, like on the outside of it. This is just in keeping with the idea that you have to pass the air under the sphere, like under the ball. And now for dynamics. The principles are the same as the 695. If you want to play forte, you make that ball really big and you pour air through it. However, for here, you're pouring air through the bottom part of the ball. And for piano, make that ball really small, but again, pass the air not through it, but under the ball. Now, I do find there is a difference in the amount of control I have on the 795 versus the 695. The 795, I found that I could play softer and hold it longer with much less effort. However, the flip side is that the fortes are not as like in your face and projecting as the 695. Again, I'm thinking it's because it has to do with the fact that you have 3-carat gold on the lip plate. And now for the mechanism. the keys have that same resistance going down as the 695, but I found that it also has resistance coming back up. I actually like the fact that the resistance coming up matches the resistance going down, because to me, I feel like I can time my fingers a lot better that way. Your mileage may vary. And again, the D sharp key is just as massive. However, it now has a D sharp roller on the side. And I found that doing the slide between the C sharp key and the D sharp key, now there's no bump at all, because as soon as you hit the D sharp key, you hit the roller and then it rolls you up for you. So even if you have small fingers like me, you won't have that bump problem. Again, the gizmo key is also placed super high up. The placement of the trill keys are also the same, like they're really, really high up, but I found them to be surprisingly resistant. I think you could just have this tweaked. Typically, when you buy a new flute, you will actually take it in to your technician to have it tweaked to your liking. But this is what I just currently noticed about this flute. If you are super heavy-handed, you may not even feel this at all. And last but not least, articulation. Whereas the 695 was somewhere around here, the 795 is more around there. At least for my mouth, this felt like it was like a good 1/3 the way back from my top front teeth. So what happens when you double tongue? I'm actually still aiming for my K part of my double tongue to be around the middle of my mouth. There ain't much space between your T and your K. You feel like your K is not a true K. You feel like you're just kind of barely grazing the roof of your mouth with your K. You may feel like you're not even doing a true double tongue, but for this flute, you are doing a true double tongue. Like, this is how the double tongue is done. If you place your K even just like right here, it sounds even more swallowed than on the 695. Double tonguing is actually essentially just a trick. You're doing 2 articulations with 1 tongue movement. And on this flute, it really feels like a trick. And now let's talk about how much these babies cost. The Pearl Dolce 695 costs $1,796.60. The Pearl Elegante 795 Vigore costs $3,328. In my day when I was in music school, it was impossible to find a flute with a C sharp trill key as standard. I really feel like Pearl built the 795 Vigore for music students. It's within a reasonable price range. This, I could see a music student financing. I could see myself doing this as a music student. It has everything you need to play the music that you play in music school. You have that D sharp roller to help you with that slide. You have the C sharp trill for the crazy trills that you end up learning in music school. And I'm not just talking about B to C sharp, I'm talking about like high G to high A. And you have that split E, which anything to make your life easier in music school, take it. And there we have it. That is my review of these lovely Pearl flutes. Let us know in the comments below what you would like to see us review next. Not only do I read your comments, but the Flute Center of New York reads them as well. Be sure to follow the Flute Center of New York on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I will put all the links to their social media in the info box below. And as usual, if you guys like this video, make sure to give me a big thumbs up and hit subscribe for new videos every Saturday. This is my last video, which I will put a link to in the info cards up here. Head on over to my Patreon page if you would like to support me, and if you would like to catch me during the week, my social media networks are down there. But otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Bye. There is a bug in my lighting.